sometimes I don't feel like I have a purpose. Seeing like my friends, like even some of my lung cancer friends, like one of my really good friends just graduated with her PhD, and another friend graduated with their degree, and or another friend just got a new job, or is moving to Atlanta, and or like just things like that, where I feel like they're moving on with their lives, and I'm still here, and I'm going to be in treatment forever. I think my initial reaction was I was in super shock because it wasn't something that I expected, or so I didn't have any symptoms of actual lung cancer, because once we fixed my shunt, I feel like I was okay, like I was going to be okay. I wasn't expecting lung cancer to come out of all of that, because I dealt with my shunt since I was a little kid. Um, so I was in complete shock for lung cancer to come out of that. Um, but I've always been a person to like, okay, this is what I've got to deal with. Let's hit the ground running. Let's we've got this. Okay, you can cry about it for you've got 10 minutes to cry about it. Let's go. Um, I mean, I was diagnosed with HIV 10 years ago now, and then I mean that's kind of how I had dealt with that over the years. Like, um, you can cry about it all for 10 minutes, but I'm like, you can't sit here and cry about it forever. Like, that's not going to do you any good. Um, so I mean, I uh, told my best friend after that, and his mom had passed away of cancer a couple of years before that, so I felt like it was really hard for him to hear that his bestie had cancer. Ooh, that made me a little more emotional saying that than I realized. Um, so I think that was probably really hard to tell him. I didn't tell my other family for a while. I wanted to get on treatment and know that everything was going to be okay, and at least have the baseline of what I was at and everything, because it was COVID, so I wasn't seeing them as much as I usually would, and we were doing FaceTimes all the time, and FaceTime games and all that crazy stuff back in the day. That seems weird to think about. So then I called my mom. It's probably like, I don't, maybe 6 months. I don't know if it was quite 6 months after I started treatment. Uh, and I told her over Zoom, and that was really hard. Um, 'Cause I think it was a weird timing, because she knew that I obviously had surgery, and she knew that I had a biopsy, but I just kind of kept stalling to tell her, which is super terrible. I know looking back, but I just didn't want to tell her, and until I knew that I had treatment, and knew that I had like an oncologist, and knew that I knew what was going on, and I had a good knowledge of what was going on, because at the time I didn't know what was going on, or didn't know anything. I remember my oncologist walked in the first time, and she wrote down on a piece of paper. She was like, okay, I was in there by myself, and she was like, here's the 3 different ways we can treat lung cancer. And at the time I had no clue what she was writing down, and it was a blur to me, and she could have wrote down 3 different French words, and I still would have no clue. Now I have the piece of paper, and I've looked at it, and I understand that she was right. She wrote down chemotherapy, immunotherapy, or radiation, I believe. I don't think she wrote down surgery. Anyway, and she scratched off immuno. I think she scratched off third surgery or something, and I was like, okay, like whatever. She said we're going to start off with these 2, and she circled them. So we started off with immunotherapy and chemotherapy, kind of all at once, um, kind of throwing everything at the kitchen sink at it. And we did that for a couple months, and then she's like, okay, we're going to try immunotherapy just alone to see if it works, because there's less side effects and everything. We threw everything in the kitchen sink. We did immunotherapy and chemotherapy, and then the immunotherapy after that, and the immunotherapy didn't work. So we were like, okay, we have to go back to chemotherapy. So we did chemo for a little while, and then we found that if we combine immuno and a chemo, it works together, but immuno by itself doesn't work for me. So I've kind of found that over trial and error over the years. So I can either do chemo or the combination. I know they did the biomarker testing, but I didn't know about the biomarker testing for probably, I feel like maybe a year, year and a half in. I'm sure they did it, and that was part of why she was choosing the immunotherapy and chemos that she was giving me as an option. But I personally didn't know that she did it until somebody asked me about it, and then I was just like, "Oh, is that a thing?" So I'm like, "You don't know what you don't know," if that makes sense. Um, so somebody asked me, and I was like, "Oh, let me ask." So I asked my PA. I was like, "Do I have a biomarker?" And she was like, "Yeah, you do." And I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And she told me, and then that's actually how later I found like the KRAS kickers and all these other groups that I am part of now. But um, that's how I think that's how we know that some immunotherapies don't work for me and some do, and things like that. But that's I know that now, but at the time I didn't know that that's why she was choosing certain things. I started off with like the immunotherapy and chemo, and then we went to a chemo. And then after that we went back and forth, and then almost 2 years ago I did this thing. I called it super chemo. There was a word for it. I don't remember what it was called. It was four things at once. It was three chemos and an immunotherapy, and we could only do 4 rounds of it because it was so pretty intense. I like lost my hair, and my white blood cell count went crazy, and I had to put this patch on my arm to raise my white blood cell count. Um, it was pretty intense, but it shrunk everything pretty good. But since then, I was like, after that, I was like, I need a break. I was pretty wiped. Um, but after that, we switched. We kind of dropped two of them, and now I'm on. I do one chemo every 2 weeks, and then we bring in one chemo, and then we alternate with an immunotherapy. So we kind of alternate those two with the chemotherapy. I have probably experienced a little bit of everything in the kitchen sink, from nausea to super fatigue. Fatigue has been a really hard one that I felt over the years. And nausea, nausea and fatigue. And then with all the medication that I'm on, I feel like we just keep adding a pill and a pill and a pill. So with all the medication I'm on, I've also got a lot of constipation that I deal with. Um, I think those are the three big ones. And then with the current chemo that I'm on, I have a lot of neuropathy in my feet and hands. So my fingertips are kind of numb. They don't tingle too much. Every now and then they do, and I'll get sharp pains in my fingertips and toes. Um, but those are the main ones for the most part. And chemo brain, that is a big one. Chemo brain has been, I feel like this has gotten worse over the years. Trying to remember words, or memory fog, or just trying to remember things in general. I feel like my memory is terrible. Like, I feel like I don't remember half my 20s anymore. I'm still figuring out how to fix mouth sores, but for everything else, I have gotten pretty good at managing my constipation. It's taken me a while, but I think I've gotten it down pat. I do Miralax. I drink a lot of Tennessee sweet tea because I'm from the South. I keep a jug in the fridge, but I dump a bunch of it in my sweet tea. So I'm constantly drinking Miralax, if that makes sense, instead of drinking like uh, I don't know what the dose would be a day or 3 times a day. I'm drinking it like constantly in my tea. So that keeps my bowel movements soft, I guess. And then I also do a senna, like one pill a senna every night. So that kind of keeps things moving along. Um, because all the nausea medicine and all the things that, and the pain meds and all the things everything they give you constipates you. It's like everything. It's like a side effect. um, so between the two, has actually helped. Um, but for nausea, I personally, I don't know if I've gotten used to. I do take nausea medicine if it's really bad, but I try to avoid it if I can. I'll take like ginger candy or crackers. Crackers are a big one for me. And actually, Coke. That sounds terrible or crazy, but Coke or carbonated drinks helps me when I'm nauseous. I don't know if it's the carbonation or the sugar. I have no idea, but I I don't like taking nausea medicine because it constipates me. Um, when I was first diagnosed, I lived on it and I didn't understand what was going on. And then I'm just later I've learned I was like, that was why I'm so constipated. I think clinical trials are amazing and great. I personally haven't tried one yet, not for lack of trying. Um, I haven't tried one yet. I've tried to get in a couple, but at the very beginning, like pretty early on, one of my chemos kind of killed my kidneys, pretty, not completely, but made it where my kidney levels have gone up. So that's kind of knocked me out of one of the trials that I tried to get on, and I'm also HIV positive, so a lot of the trials won't allow you on in stage 1 or 2 of the trials. So that's kicked me out, or the eligibility of a trial. But I am a firm believer in trials. I don't know how to phrase it, but like my life kind of halting, if that makes sense. Um, I Prior to all of this, I was working and was an interior designer, and I feel like my career was starting, and now I'm on disability, and I don't sit at home all the time, but I don't work anymore, and I found ways to kind of supplement those that need for a purpose, but sometimes I don't feel like I have a purpose sometimes, and I think that's been the hardest thing. And seeing like my friends, like even some of my lung cancer friends, like one of my really good friends just graduated with her PhD, and another friend um, graduated with their degree, and or another friend just got a new job, or is moving to Atlanta, and or like just things like that, where I feel like they're moving on with their lives, and I'm still here, and I'm going to be in treatment forever, and it's more than likely going to kill me one day, or just different things like that. It's kind of a passion project of mine. When I was first diagnosed, I just was reaching out and trying to find anybody that was like me, anybody my age or anybody that was going through something similar to me. And you go online and you Google. Everybody Googles. I mean, that's the resource that we have, right? Um, it was hard to find anything. Or you go on to Instagram, and it's hard to find. It was hard to find people that were in similar boats as me. Um, and maybe, I don't know, a year in, my counselor gave me a PDF, and it was a PDF of resources, and it was like gold. I was like, oh my gosh! And I clicked on every single resource on this freaking thing that she gave me, and it was cancer camps and grants and just anything and everything, from even for people trying to have babies. It was just everything on this thing, and it wasn't huge. It was 5 or 6 pages of resources, which is a lot. Not saying it wasn't a lot. It just wasn't 20 million pages for AYAs. I mean, so that's how I found my first cancer camp that I went on, and it was like life changing for me to meet all these people and just be with people who knew what it was like to go through what I'm going through, and to sit there and talk about poop all day, or to talk about cancer, or just to laugh. And I learned how to surf in California, and it was amazing. So I went to the first one, and since then I've gone on 6 different cancer camps, and I've met so many amazing people, and I have lifelong friends, but since then I've kind of made it a mission to share resources and to. I'm currently working. This is like a passion project to make a spreadsheet, like a shareable spreadsheet, with resources to share with everybody. Um, I don't know. I'm going to give it to people, but that's what I want to do. Is because I think that was the hardest part. Is I've met other people that didn't know about this cancer camp, or didn't know about this grant, or didn't know about this resource, or this or that, or so I'm like, how can we get all these resources to all these different people? I've talked to different like lung cancer organizations, and nobody wants to house it. Because you have to keep it updated. But I'm like, well, if we can keep a spreadsheet or something that everybody just kind of updates itself, and we all do it together, I think that would be easy peasy. Well, easy peasy, right? That's my idea, and I I don't know. I just shared it with the world, so hopefully, if someone steals it, great. The idea's out there, and that's the whole point of it, right? Um, I'm slowly working on it. It's just getting there slowly. My husband is probably the biggest person that I lean on the most. He's all the behind the scenes of everything, from my stomach troubles to my breakdowns. He goes to chemo with me every 2 weeks. He's probably the biggest rock. Today is actually our 10-year anniversary of since we've been together. Um, so that's kind of a cool date. But my besties are all super big supporters. I drag them to cancer walks and lung cancer walks and the AIDS walk, and we have a team called Team Coconut. So I'm like, they are huge supporters of my mom and is a huge supporter. She probably calls me 3 or 4 times a week to check on me. Um, so I'm like, I do have a pretty great support system. Um, So I am really fortunate to have all of those people. Um, they're pretty great. We just had this past February was my 4-year cancerversary. We had a cancerversary party. My husband threw me, and it was pretty fun. I'd never done a cancerversary party before, and it's kind of a weird thing to celebrate. But I was like, we just celebrate it, right? We survived this long, so let's keep going. Find your community, um, find your people. It makes such a huge difference. Um, there are people out there like you, and we're out there, and just definitely find them, and makes 310% difference. I talk to my cancer people every day. It's not the end of the world. Having cancer diagnosis is not the end or a death sentence. I can talk all the crap that comes along with cancer, from, like a lot of things ending, but a lot of things began with my cancer diagnosis. I've met so many amazing people. I've gotten to do so many different things that I never would have gotten to do. And all of that was because of cancer. I've gotten to learn how to surf. I've gotten to learn how to snowboard. I got to rock climb in the Dolomites in Italy. I got to learn how to sail in Italy. I've gotten to do all these crazy fun things because of cancer, and I've gotten to meet all these amazing people because of cancer. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten diagnosed with lung cancer.